Hello everyone, AlphaSoul here, and welcome to another video. As promised, this is going to be my analysis and just kind of short discussion on the Creative Director's Letter, which was released earlier this March on March 7th, and was essentially outlining what's going on with Ashes of Creation and the plans for it. Now, I'm going to quickly first go over what the live letter covered in a succinct manner, and then I'm going to go ahead and just kind of compare it and give you guys my thoughts on the live letter. I had released a video earlier on just kind of discussing what I was expecting from the live letter, and I kind of wanted to match it up and see, if it lived up to my expectations, things of that nature. So without any further ado, let's just go in it. Now, the live letter opens up with essentially Intrepid Studios kind of outlining what has been happening with their company from just, like a staff update. They highlighted the fact that the company is growing. It basically feels here that they were really putting emphasis on that there are real people, real industry veterans who are working on the MMO. And I think this is specifically targeted in order to kind of quell some of the people who are basically thinking and saying that this is a vaporware game, that it is not materializing. And so I think this was Intrepid's way of saying, look, we've got 100 developers, we've got a lot of developers. Their target was 80 to 100 developers, but they never actually hit that target, so they're kind of redoubling down on manpower. But it seems like they've got a considerable amount of developers already working on it, and their plan is to expand even further, and specifically moving into a new video. So that was kind of up there and one of the first things that they threw out. Now, the next interesting thing was in the next kind of two sections, they first went over a state of the game, and they specifically split the sections up into the MMO, Apocalypse, and then the third kind of website, forums, customer service, and e-commerce, so like miscellaneous. And then in the following section after that, they went through and then outlined kind of like the update. They first did a state, and then they did like, okay, here's where we're going. And then finally there were two updates after that. But let's start with the state of the game, the MMO specifically. Or let's just start with the MMO. So you could tell from the first bit of the live letter that they were already gearing up to a delay, which almost anyone who's been following Ashes of Creation kind of saw coming. So the key, I guess you could say, statement here that was put in the live letter was, the core principle with the development of Ashes of Creation is getting it right, and our measurement of success is delivering on the vision that you signed up for. We are here to release a game that will make us all proud. Now, I kind of think that goes without saying, but we do appreciate, that kind of being said. That said, that was the indicator to me that there was going to be a delay, which would happen, later on within the live letter, and that is the fact that there is a delay. The change, I think, that is coming with Intrepid Studios is they are no longer going to be giving solid dates on things that will come out. Instead, they will only give a date when they are absolutely sure that that will be when something will be released. Now, the general update from the MMO is that things are delayed. There were a bunch of issues that were caught from Ashes of Creation Apocalypse. They saw those issues, and they end up having to rebuild various aspects of the game from a base standpoint in order to improve on the game, essentially. So the base gist is that there is a delay with Ashes of Creation. Now, it sounds like that they're insinuating that this delay is more in the months range rather than the years range. So supposedly it won't go over a year. But that's all that they're comfortable with sharing. When pressed any further, essentially it doesn't look like, there's much of an update. Basically, that's the update. There's a delay, but they're not comfortable with saying how long. Apocalypse, on the other hand, they outlined the purpose of Apocalypse, and they really went back to the roots again to discuss what Apocalypse's purpose was. And then, they kind of went into the fact that Apocalypse, is still being worked on, it's still being updated, but it's also delayed along with the MMO. So the one thing that they did note was that for the people who were leveling up, they will retain their levels, they'll retain their rewards that they went ahead and got, but on the other hand, the season will start from week 1. So that would be the update for there. And then finally, on website, forums, customer service, and e-commerce. They kind of touched on all notes. To just sum it up really quick, the website was flooded, didn't meet their expectations, so they had to move it to migrate it to a new web service using, I believe, Amazon Web Services. The forums are down, obviously. They said the forums will be coming back soon, but they, again, are not prepared to put a date on that one. Customer service responses have been slow, and as such, they have hired a considerable and are looking for considerable more CS presence to handle that. And finally, Zola, the previous e-commerce site, which elicited a lot of complaints from some of our community members, essentially has been scrapped, and they're migrating to a new payment vendor that they will be using. Now, of the other additional updates, there will be there's no PAX East. They will not be going to PAX East. That was a little bit disappointing to me, but I'll touch on that a little bit. And then finally, the content roadmap. It wasn't the type of roadmap I was expecting. Essentially, they highlighted that there's going to be a new video series, monthly video series, articles, blogs, conceptual items, things of that nature, specifically relating to the MMO that they will be releasing in a steady stream. And since the live letter has happened, there have been 2 different articles and blog posts regarding that. So far they have kept up to it, but we'll see if they actually continue to follow through with that. They outlined a live stream schedule, and finally, they will continue to send I guess you could say resume sending monthly newsletters to everyone who, is signed up for Ashes of Creation. So that's the general update. So did it live up to what I was expecting? So there were 6 things that I was looking for. I was looking for an MMO update to the roadmap, testing results, PAX East, an update for PAX East. I wanted to know what their testing plans were. And then finally, I would have liked a forum update specifically. Now, they touched on all of the things that I mentioned within my previous video. No doubt about it. They touched on all of it. The problem is, at least that I found, they didn't get specifically into any of them else. Now, overall, with the overall general direction, I have to say I do agree. I do think that they should scale back as far as how they have been communicating out with everyone else. Responding to the community, it feels like a lot of their responses have been almost knee-jerk in reaction to what the current, community is saying, which I think some people may think is a good thing, but I don't think is a good thing, especially for this stage of the MMO's development. So I do think that overall, direction is the right direction, but that doesn't mean that necessarily I like it, if you will. Just because of the fact that, we were getting updates before, and we had an expectation. I had an expectation of when I would be, playing Alpha 1, and that was, within Q2. We know that's not going to be in Q2, so, roughly around this time is when we would be gearing up for it. And it's understandable. It's not strange at all. MMOs get delayed all the time. Games, period, get delayed all the time. None of that is strange or concerning. It's just disappointing that the date that was originally promised to us was not, hit. Totally understandable why, but still disappointing. I would have liked to see, so again, for the MMO update, I would have liked to have at least gotten even a little bit more stringent of a date. Didn't necessarily get that. The roadmap, I was expecting more something concrete, and Q1 you'll get this, Q2, or in month 1 you'll get this, month 2, things of that nature, but it looks like they're going in another direction for that. So half on that one. Testing results, they did actually meet that one and clearly outlined what they got from the test, which was nice to see. PAX East, this one was disappointing as well, because they had previously said that they were going, but I had kept asking them here and there if they were going, only because I planned on attending PAX East only if they were going. But it looks like, at the last minute they're not, so I was, it turns out in this case, right for not pre-purchasing those PAX East tickets on the hopes that Intrepid was going to be there. So, disappointing, and hopefully they will be very clear of what events they will be going to in order to avoid something like this in the future. Didn't cost me anything now, but could have. Testing plans, those were also outlined, but you know, we don't have any solid, you know, dates for it. And the same thing goes with the forum update. The forum is something that has just been really strange. At one point, it was, you know, it's just been down a lot longer than I think anyone has thought. And so, you know, just, I know it's something small, but it is still something that has been on my mind to some degree. So overall, you know, when I first heard of the newsletter, I was disappointed. As time kind of went on, you know, I had a little bit more understanding with the newsletter. At the end of the day, I think if you are a, you know, starch fervorous follower of the MMO, then you are probably disappointed by this live letter like I was. But I think if you are a person who just keeps up with it, you know, tertiary, and are not too concerned about when it's coming out, you know, this probably met what you were going for. But the real devil is in the details, and the real devil is in the follow-up for this. So it really depends. We basically came out with this live letter not knowing much more than we already knew. And, you know, with the promise for more content, more updates. So we'll see where those more content and updates go. So that's pretty much my thoughts and summary on the live letter, guys. Let me know what your thoughts were. Hope it's been helpful. That's pretty much it, guys. Look down below. You'll find a link to the live letter. Thank you, guys. Take care of yourselves. AlphaSoul out.